Have you imagined being in the early days of the Restoration, in the 1820s and 1830s, when everything was changing for the people of the Church? The gospel was new, and so was the idea of modern-day revelation. People were learning how to hear from God in a new way, and there was confusion and excitement in the air. Joseph Smith, a young prophet, was leading the charge, but even he, with all his faith, had to face questions and doubts. And sometimes, those questions weren't just his. They were shared by the early saints. Joseph Smith had already brought forth the Book of Mormon, and the gospel had begun to spread. But, as often happens with new movements, there was confusion. One day, a member of the church, Hiram Page, who had been one of the 8 witnesses of the Book of Mormon, claimed to have received revelations for the church. Hiram was a faithful man, but what he didn't understand was that God had already established his order for revelation. Hiram Page believed he had received instructions from God, and he shared them with the saints. Many were convinced, believing these were true revelations. But as time passed, confusion spread through the members. Could anyone receive revelations for the church? Were they not all entitled to direct guidance from God? They were learning how to hear God's voice and navigate this unfamiliar path of faith and leadership. Joseph, the prophet of the Restoration, was facing this challenge. In the midst of this confusion, he turned to God, and in response, the Lord gave a clear and comforting answer. In Doctrine and Covenants 28 verse 2, God declared that he had appointed one person to receive commandments and revelations for the entire church. That person was Joseph Smith. However, the Lord also emphasized that others could receive personal revelation to guide their own lives and help in their specific roles. The Lord's words were clear. All things must be done in order. Doctrine and Covenants 28 verse 13. God's plan wasn't chaotic or random. It had structure, with Joseph Smith as the prophet and the only one authorized to receive revelation for the church. God's wisdom didn't just stop with order, it extended to the sacredness of ordinances, like the sacrament. In Doctrine and Covenants 27, we find the saints gathering to partake of the sacrament. Joseph was preparing to go get wine, but before he could, an angel appeared to him, teaching him the importance of what the sacrament truly represented. It wasn't about the emblems themselves, but the intent and reverence with which they were approached. The angel told him to partake of the sacrament with an eye single to his glory. Doctrine and Covenants 27 verse 2. This wasn't just a ritual, it was a moment of connection with God, a chance to remember the Savior's sacrifice and renew covenants. As the saints struggled through their various challenges, from persecution to the confusion of new revelations, the sacrament became a powerful tool for remembrance. It helped them refocus on the Savior, to keep their eyes on Him amidst the turmoil. We, too, face challenges, questions, and uncertainties. We live in a time where many voices compete for our attention. The lesson from the early saints is simple but profound. There is order in God's plan. He speaks to His prophet, and He speaks to us individually. When we follow this order, when we seek personal revelation and trust in God's direction, we find peace and understanding, even in the midst of trials. His work is done in order, and through that order, we find His direction for us. Just as the early saints faced confusion, but found clarity in revelation, so too can we find clarity as we turn to God in faith.